Hey, hi, and hello, everyone. It's Anthony Fantano, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's a big week for beef. I mean, I know everyone's talking about the Nicki Minaj and Megan Thee Stallion situation. Also, did you hear Ice Spice's shot against me in her new song? Bitches be thick, but I'm thicker? Tell me that's not about me. Make sure to post a pic of the thighs. A nice thirst trap image. But also this week, we have corporate beef too. Boom. Universal Music Group on Twitter. Open letter to the songwriter community calling out TikTok, coinciding with the announcement that the label is pulling its music from the platform. I will get into the details of the letter and the label in a second, but first, double boom, TikTok's response, which of course in pure TikTok fashion is short. It is sad and disappointing that Universal Music Group put their own greed above the interests of their artists and songwriters. Despite Universal's false narrative and rhetoric, the fact is they have chosen to walk away from the powerful support of a platform with well over 1 billion users that serves as a free promotional and discovery vehicle for their talent. TikTok has been able to reach artist-first agreements with every other label and publisher. Clearly, Universal's self-serving actions are not in the best interests of artists, songwriters, and fans. So TikTok not apologizing, not groveling at all, essentially giving Universal the middle finger and saying, we don't need you. And given the power and influence of Universal and TikTok, respectively, it's kind of hard to tell which one of them is shooting themselves in the foot more by walking away from each other. Because in at least one line here, TikTok does make a fair point in that for a label like Universal, there is value in having your music on the platform because TikTok has proven to be such a major promotional tool for artists. And there have been countless cases of certain songs, sometimes sped up and sometimes slowed down. Track goes gold, track goes platinum. However, it's not always all sunshine and rainbows, as occasionally these TikTok and internet feeding frenzies around a certain sound or clip don't translate into countless streams and listens. And if there is any attention given to the artist, it is very short term, kind of comes and goes. And at the end of the day, the only value that was really generated was for TikTok. And this, unfortunately, is sort of the TikTok model. You know, you hop on this platform, we pay you almost nothing, we pay you shit, and you're just here doing it for the promo, bro. It's just the big social media company version of, you know, that skeezy booking agent guy at a local venue telling your band to open up for some bigger band to, again, get exposure to their audience. And of course, you have to buy a bunch of tickets in order to get that opening slot at the gig too. Before I go forward in this video, I would like to say, I don't have a horse in this race, specifically in regards to TikTok versus Universal. They are both terrible, exploitative, self-serving, and put profits above everything. To take it back to TikTok, and speaking as somebody who has been operating on the platform for a couple of years now successfully, I'll tell you, TikTok is a little overrated as a promotional tool, as it's often next to impossible to take any of the attention you amass on TikTok and actually translate it into anything that has any value anywhere else other than TikTok, because the app makes it a total fucking pain to offload people onto, let's say, another page or a YouTube channel or a Patreon or anywhere else where you might actually get paid for the work you're doing. And independent artists themselves have had difficulties finding ways of translating their attention on the platform into stable, legitimate, functional music careers too. So the promo that you get on TikTok is a little iffy, which is why it's so important that whatever content on there that is getting shared, replayed, used as far as copyrighted stuff that other artists, musicians have created, that they be paid for it. Because what is that promotion worth if it doesn't actually monetize into anything, whether that's on or off TikTok? Then, as far as Universal Music Group goes, I mean, they're a major label. They're blood-sucking leeches that don't actually contribute to the creativity of the artist. And with every exploitative deal they do with every singer, every rapper, every songwriter, they are looking looking to buy as low as possible and sell as high as possible. And they, as I mentioned earlier, have penned this call-out letter to TikTok. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but we will look at some key points. For one, Universal claims that an internal analysis confirms that a majority of content on TikTok contains music, more than any other social media platform, which shouldn't be a surprise to anybody who is on TikTok, who is aware of the most popular types of content on the platform. Music really is the lifeblood of the platform, which is why it's odd they would so readily walk away from this agreement with Universal. And Universal claims their reasoning in walking away from this deal or renewing a deal with TikTok is to do with appropriate compensation for their artists. They're also concerned with the proliferation of AI music on the platform, specifically stuff that kind of copycats artists that are on their label and rips them off. And they also list the safety of TikTok's users, which I don't know how legitimate of a concern that is on Universal's part, especially since TikTok has been notorious for a while as far as just kind of being bad for the mental health of its mostly very young user base. But yes, Universal also says that TikTok accounts for only about 1% of its total revenue, I guess in terms of like the money they do get paid for whatever streams or plays or exposure the music they have the rights to gets on there. They talk about the hate speech and bigotry on the platform, which there most certainly is. The moderation on TikTok sometimes is not great. And Universal also claims that TikTok tried to bully them into this deal, which they also say was worth less than the previous deal. Universal also claims that TikTok has been selectively removing the music of their smaller and developing artists, while of course, still pushing the bigger ones, which is kind of odd and a bit damning if that is in fact true. Now, as I said earlier, Universal is a money-grubbing corporation, point blank period, and as much as they may pose it as so in their little letter here, they're not doing any of this out of the goodness of their hearts. If I have any interest in this battle between the both of them, it's for artists to get the exposure and the payments they deserve. Now, for anyone who is on TikTok and uses it and understands how the culture works over there, you get how dumb of an idea it is for Universal to walk away from the platform, especially given, again, just how much of a driving force it has proven to be in regards to popularizing new music. But on the flip side of that, for those who are less maybe music industry savvy, let me tell you why it's kind of stupid for TikTok to not be at least making some concessions for Universal here. Now, back in the day when I started in the music industry, I believe at the time there were 5 major music labels, and through the glory that is capitalism, there are currently just 3. Yeah, that's been whittled down a little bit. So of your 3 major labels that are out there, under which many smaller labels and subsidiaries sit, you have Sony, you have Warner, and you have Universal. And Universal is the biggest of all of the 3 by quite a bit, with the largest market share. And you don't get to that point without having some of the biggest artists in the industry behind you. Lady Gaga, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, U2, Rolling Stones, Ariana Grande, Taylor Swift, Post Malone, Drake, Beck, Halsey, Katy Perry, Selena Gomez, Eminem, Blackpink, Dr. Dre 2, just to name a bunch. Like, these are not small artists and discographies to be walking away from. One of them, again, being Taylor Swift, who, remember, is famously known for the head-to-head that she was in the midst of years ago with Spotify, and through withdrawing her music from the platform, was able to eventually get to a point with Universal where they inked a pretty lucrative deal for the label, and also specifically her. So imagine a Taylor Swift removal from Spotify times 10 when you add up all those other artists that are here. And yeah, you're potentially looking at a shot in the kneecap of TikTok's business model a bit here. And the TikTok business model isn't just all about music or the music that comes from specific artists. It's about personalities and humor and comedy and dancing and entertainment. And maybe TikTok figures that other music will suffice if they don't have access to Universal's music. Again, in conclusion with all of this, my personal interest is that artists and creators get paid more by labels, by streaming, and by TikTok. And while this decision from Universal doesn't put money in anyone's pocket immediately, it may get the ball rolling on TikTok eventually coming back to the table with a renegotiation proposition that actually does see more money going into artists' pockets. And that's ultimately not a bad thing, a net benefit, you could say. Even if TikTok does not not come back to the table, maybe Universal pulling its music from the platform will actually provide more space and more breathing room for smaller artists to actually get their shit talked about and promoted and spread across the platform too. As a fair amount of the market share in the music industry every year is taken up by independent artists and labels too. So yeah, not to both sides this thing, but TikTok sucks ass. Universal sucks ass. And unfortunately, it's the artists who kind of get stuck in the middle at the end of the day. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'm sure you will. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, TikTok, Universal, forever.